evening, colleagues. I hope that I hope everyone's doing well. Family's well. It's been nice for any of us who have kids. It's been great sledding weather. So that's been a nice thing in our little COVID world. The first thing I'd like to do is approve.
By the way, I think Daniel and Whitney might be, Daniel and Beth might be stuck in the participant section.
So any of us as co-hosts can actually let them in, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna let them in now.
I'm letting Beth in.
I'll let Daniel in.
Daniel in.
So I'd like to start with the approval of the minutes. They were sent to us via email. In the future, Jean, or whoever is administrating this, if you could please put them on board, that would be good. But they were emailed to us. Does anybody have any? Did you guys get a chance to see the minutes? If you didn't, I can put them in the chat.
I'm just looking at them very quickly now.
Can I just say that for the record, the Rochelle Public Library trustees are now using a system that we all voted on called Onboard. So if anybody is asking, well, I wonder what is Onboard? Portal, a cloud, if you will, that the trustees are using, similar to many other portals that many boards use, from nonprofits to school board, using board docs. We are using a different platform that is suitable for our need and agency.
Thank you. So does everybody have a copy of the minutes?
Yes.
How are you guys looking at them?
Yes.
So there is a change. There's a Jean or Jessica. Who's doing the minutes?
I can.
Okay. You guys have me as excused. I'm not excused.
No,
You have me there, but then you have me excused.
that was just a template from a previous board meeting. That can be eliminated when we complete the minutes.
Okay. Any questions on the minutes?
No, they look okay to me.
Would you like to make a motion? I make a motion that we approve the minutes from January of our board meeting.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Well, Francis, we move on to you. We'd love a brief WLS report.
Oh, very good. We had our meeting 2 weeks ago, the WLS board, and that was the first meeting of the year after about 2 months of having no meeting. The board continues to be preoccupied with the impact of the virus as usual, the impact on its activities, on the operations of the various member libraries, etc.
Can you excuse me 1 second? Can you guys, I'm sorry, 1 second. Jean is now a panelist, and can you take Jean out of the room? Sorry, Jean. We're good? Okay. I'm sorry, Francis, go ahead.
Oh, no problem at all. I was saying that our board continues to be, like everyone actually, including our board here, preoccupied with the impact of the virus on our activities, our staff and our operations, etc. And I and the two of my colleagues in the board continue to be the link between the meetings of the directors, the daily, weekly meetings of the directors and the board. And this has provided a useful link and better communications between the two bodies. Now, as regards the virus, there's now hopeful sign that it is declining. Cases of infections are declining. Cases of hospitalization is also declining. And the vaccination rate is increasing. In fact, this is providing quite a level of hope for many people. In fact, yesterday during the Rotary meeting, the county executive Latimer briefed us, and he reinforced this point and confirmed that things are beginning to look up. And as a result, various libraries, including WLS, is adjusting its decisions for reopening the library. I think Tom will talk about that in the light of the situations as it's improving. Particularly vaccinations is improving. The county executive said that more vaccination points are going to be open, including, and I was very happy to hear that, including mobile vaccinations for the elderly. So that is a hopeful sign for the work of our libraries. The second point is there's been a considerable discussion in the board about the qualifications of trustees, particularly in the context of any appearance of conflict of interest. There was a case of a candidate proposed by District 5, which is Armagh, Bedford, and Mount Pleasant. A trustee was proposed, and it happened that this trustee was a member of the library board, of his own library board, and he was seeking employment in another board, although this guy was eminently qualified, and that sort of created a heated discussion. So can we accept such a person as a trustee with this obvious conflict of interest? After considerable discussion, and I particularly made the point that it is not so much the legal justification or absence of it, of such a representation, but I thought that the very appearance of any conflict of interest is really bad enough, and that should disqualify. Anyway, the long story, to cut a long story short, it was decided that this gentleman should withdraw, regretfully. I bring this up because this led to the revision of our bylaws in this respect. In fact, we looked at it, we revised the bylaws, and now it reads very clearly as follows: that trustees must be at least 18 years of age and residents of the WLS district they represent. In other words, if you hear tomorrow that I've gone off to Timbuktu, I cease to be a member of a representative of our district. So no current employee of the system or any member library shall be eligible to serve as a trustee. So that has been made very clear, and the problem has been laid to rest. The next point I want to mention is that the board approved a capital budget of $510,000 for the current fiscal year for the following purposes. One is an amount of $175,000 was approved for the member library network to replace existing equipment and elevate the speed and performance of our member library network. I hope that this is having a good impact on our library. Tom, maybe you can say a few words on that. The second is the replacement of all public designated computers in our member libraries, all of them. In fact, a total of about $300,000 was devoted for that. And the last allocation was for a really internal thing, $35,000 just to replace 2 aging vehicles. So the board is going to meet again to consider any request that are going to be made against the capital budget. The next point is, you all know that last year we had an audit meeting, and one of the audit reports that came out was on the IT audit. The auditors made certain recommendations that in effect required a revision of the current service agreement between the WLS and the libraries. This revised service agreement was discussed extensively by the audit working group and by the committee of directors. The discussion was quite lengthy, and I don't need to go into the details of that. But finally, a new and revised service agreement has been proposed, and it is met with the agreement of the directors. So that new service agreement was brought to us for consideration, really more for information, because we were not, as a board, we were not so much involved in it. And the text of the service agreement is now going to be passed on to the lawyers to look at it and advise us of any changes that need to be made and of the steps that need to be taken going forward. I think this is something that during the discussion, I understand that our directors took a very active part, including our own Tom, who took a very active part in it. In fact, Tom has a very high standing among his peers, which is very good for us. Almost the last point has to do with the board also approved a number of committees and committee assignments. There are 5 committees of the board: the budget committee, the financial audit committee, the governance committee, the nominating board and development committee, and the strategic planning committee. So I've been assigned to 2 of these committees. One is the governance committee, which reviews and updates policies and bylaws regularly, and considers any changes or any modifications that need to be made in implementing the policies at the instructions of the Department of State, the Department of Education from the state. And the other committee is the Strategic Planning Committee, which I'll be a member. And this committee is going to be working on establishing the directions in which WLS would have to focus in the next few years, next 4 or 5 years. This is going to be a challenging committee, and I'm looking forward to taking active part in it. And I'll be reporting to you whatever progress we make in this. At my request, I asked to be an auditor to sit in silently in the budget committee, although I'm not a member, and it was agreed. So I'll be auditing the budget committee, because I think if you want to know what an organization is and what it does, you need to know what money it has and how it uses it. So that is that. And lastly, 2 days ago, the board had a retreat to discuss sort of really what our roles are as trustees. What does it mean to be a trustee? And what is the mission of WLS? And how do we relate to the member libraries? It's a sort of freewheeling discussion. It was a very interesting discussion, went on for about 2 hours. The general feeling that emerged from this informal discussion is that we are really, as one of us put it, we are really citizens of the 2 institutions. We, although we sit on the, as trustees, we responsible to the committee, to the board of the WLS, but we also are responsible for representing our district. So we serve really both these bodies. I made a point that they appear to like. I said, well, a lot of concerns have been made about our role in the board, whether WLS or at a library level, but not enough focus is being given to our primary responsibilities, namely to serve the 1 million or so patrons of the county. Although we are trustees and directors, etc., our main responsibility really is to try to serve the needs of our patrons, to see to what extent our libraries meet their requirements and their aspirations and their expectations. And whatever decisions we take, whether at the library level or at the WLS level, should be informed by our awareness and our concerns about the ordinary needs of the people. So I think that is probably going to be reflected in that. I was also concerned about some cases of conflict that arise between certain member libraries and WLS. I've been hearing quite a bit of that over the past months. I personally felt that that was unnecessary. It is the responsibility of a trustee to try to resolve and mediate, if I can use the word using my UN background, mediate this and to ensure that there's a smooth working relations between WLS and the member library. If there's any problem, that should be resolved. You may recall when I invited the executive director, WLS Terry, to come and give us a briefing about what was happening with the IT, etc. And I think that worked very well. And then the problem was eventually resolved. So that's all I have to say. And I would like to request the indulgence of the chair that once I finish with my briefing that I could leave. I've requested to make some noise tomorrow morning at a UN function. That's why you see that flag behind me.
You're getting set. You're getting ready, huh?
Yes, I've got to see whatever ideas I have in the back of my mind and prepare.
Yes, well,
for that
the
tomorrow
world
morning.
really needs the UN right now. So I suggest you go right now.
Okay. So
Thank you,
that's all
Francis.
real. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis.
Francis, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes. So we're going to move to the president's report. I don't have anything to update, except I will kind of update as part of the committees, other than I'm hoping that we will hear a little bit more, putting some folks on the spot here, but hope we might hear a little bit more about kind of how we're thinking about approaching some of the needs of the building in terms of the building's falling apart, or it's not falling apart, but the building needs a lot of work, the needs assessment. So I'm hoping that we as a board can really tackle some of these issues together. So that's my only thing. I think my colleagues have some guidance that they're going to suggest tonight. But it's really important because we do need to tackle what is seemingly going to be a big kind of number.
Deirdre, could I interject? We
Absolutely.
have on the agenda, either you can make the motion or I, regarding the 5 newest foundation board members that our board needs to vote to approve. I have their names. Would you like me to read them off, or do you want to do so?
So let me finish what I was saying, and then we can do that perhaps. Yeah, we can do that perhaps now. That would be the best time. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure we understood that one of the things I'd like to see before this year is up is some kind of resolution, or not even a resolution, but some plan on how we're going to address our building and the needs of the building, which buildings and grounds uncovered, as well as the needs of the community. So that's kind of key. I want to put that out there. The number you guys were throwing around is we might need $4 million to $5 million of work done. So we're really going to need to address that. So yes, the board, the foundation board, which we are very thankful for, brought on 5 new people, and we have to approve them. So I guess what, do you want to say their names and then I'll just say I make a motion that we approve them?
Sure, sure. Yes, thank you.
So, go ahead.
We have 5 new foundation board members. All are women who are here in New Rochelle and extremely impressive, have lots of talents. And it's going to be exciting to see them become integrated in the foundation board. Their names are, and hopefully I'll pronounce them all correctly, Aileen Hall, Halle, Stephanie Tomei, Leslie Newman, Micah Wilson, and Davina Burnett.
I make a motion that we accept the 5 new names just mentioned as board members for the foundation.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and so they are now on the board. And so now we're going to move to the executive directors. Yay! Happy that they are there. Thankful for what they do. We can move to the executive director's report.
Thank you, Deirdre.
You're welcome.
This brief. We have a number of New York State construction projects underway, and they're in various states of completion. Many of them are nearly done. The circulation desk area, otherwise known as Gateway Project, we are hoping to close this project off within the next number of weeks. Tomorrow, we're going to be installing an element in the lobby over the entrance. We have some furniture to go, and so that will be complete. Let's see, the Huguenot Children's Library furnace boiler replacement project. We have some unspent monies. We made contact with the New York State Library grants coordinator, and we've been given permission to, it's appropriate to use these monies to add a generator, a backup generator to that library. So we're going to explore that as well. We are working on the main library second floor renovation project phase 1. We've done a lot. We've almost are hopefully at a point where we can close it. Might take a few more months, but it's exciting to see the library transform. The second floor renovation project at the main library, phase 2, is about to begin. We're in the process of talking with our vendors, whether it be furniture, equipment, new carpet, new paint, hopefully changing out the lighting for LED. So that's about to start, and that's exciting as well. We have started the Huguenot Children's Library stairway replacement. If you've ever been in the stairs that connects the first level with the lower level, they're pretty treacherous. We received a grant to replace them. The vendor is coming tomorrow to sort of deposit the pre-built stairs, and then the installation has to happen. So that's exciting. The EDAP grant that was given to us by the generosity of Senator Stuart Cousins, we're hoping to be able to claim that once we close the Gateway project as well. Other things to report on, as Daniel had discussed at the January meeting, the Israel Forum collection, we today received 4 large boxes of books to add to the 2 boxes that we had received previously. We're in the process of cataloging them and processing them and making them available to the community. Of course, grateful to the Israeli consulate in New York City, to the intercession of Hana. It's an exciting project that both our residents and people in Westchester will benefit from all of these great new titles that were curated by our staff. Let's see what else. In terms of stats, curbside is still going great guns. We had 694 transactions in the month of January, just slightly down from December. We had 720 transactions. So patrons are loving our ability to furnish books, audio CDs, music CDs, DVDs, and also the book bundles. Our children's staff is doing a superb job, putting together bundles of books for patrons. And we've had a real, it's a very heartening groundswell of social media support from our patrons, where one patron says, I got mine today. My daughter was beyond excited. It was so easy. Thank you. We'll be coming back for more. Another patron, my boys love their bundles. This is such a service. The book bundles from the library are amazing. I filled out the forms for my boys who are hard to please and picked up the books today. Super easy, and best of all, they've been reading all evening. Another patron talking about how easy it is for us to get books, for them to get books from us. She says her kids have read 246 books since March, and that's just the ones from our library. It goes on, but one patron says, our library has been freaking amazing during the pandemic, and I'd love to hear that and share that with you and whoever else is watching our Zoom meeting. So, I feel like despite the challenging circumstances, we are working to satisfy our patrons in a variety of ways. And that also relates to, programs. Our children's and teen areas are doing some terrific programs. Some of them are in Spanish, which are particularly popular, and we're very, patrons are grateful for that. Social media as well, our platforms, Twitter, our 2 Twitter accounts, Instagram, Facebook, all popular. Our performance on Google is high. Our constant contact weekly e-blasts, we try to send 2 a week, also popular. So while our doors are shut, we're certainly not closed. We're doing quite a lot. Again, one sort of interesting thing that I think the board will want to know about is that our longtime Board of Education clerk, Liz Sarah Eva, retired over the summer. We have a new clerk. Her name is Millie Bonilla. She has had experience in that capacity working in the town of Pelham, which is great. We made contact yesterday. I sort of shared the sorts of things that we've done with the clerk's office previously, and she was very receptive. She sounds very excited to work with us. We invited her and her new assistant for a tour. So just be aware there's somebody new there at the office, but it sounds like things are in good hands. And I told her, as in the past, we are happy to collaborate with the school district. We're lucky to have them as partners, both for the election that relates to budget and trustees, as well as our financial component. So there's that. Let's see, just sort of looking through, I'm almost complete. A sort of an important issue. We have been working with Tim Oberg, who is the coordinator for the AARP tax aid service, which has been a tremendous success here at our library for decades. And each year we serve over 1,000 people, which is really amazing. And people have grown to depend upon this high quality service, which of course costs nothing. Unfortunately, AARP National has made the painful decision to discontinue in-person tax assistance, but the AARP folks around the nation, particularly our really good team, Tim is a dedicated guy, a wonderful guy. They are working on a new process that we will be publicizing, in which, while they won't be there in person, they will be available via phone to provide assistance. They're setting up a process in which patrons can sort of scan all of their tax documentation, send them to an email address. The AARP tax aides will do the work remotely and communicate with the patrons. And we are also thinking, Denise link is actively looking to talk to agencies in the community that are serving people, and we're wondering if we have a role. Maybe we can provide, tech assistance where we can scan documents. And I know Daniel, Denise was going to reach out to you to talk to you about how we might be able to work with your organization to help people who are, struggling with the inability to file their tax returns. So and we're getting lots of questions.
That has come up for sure. Like, we've gotten a lot of phone calls about inquiries in regards to the process of what the library is going to do. And I know, like, the Westchester Putnam Workforce Development Board, the One Stop, they also have the VITA program. They're also going on a scan your documents in basis. I'm assuming you guys have an income requirement?
The library, we don't have a role, we're just a host.
Okay.
I think our idea, Daniel, was we thought if we could partner with an organization like yours, where the economic situation, we could perhaps provide some tech support in terms of scanning if that was an issue, or some other things. We weren't even opposed to the idea of making our space available, a meeting room available adjacent to the entrance to help people if that was necessary on an appointment basis.
Mm-hmm.
And practicing social distancing, because we know it's such a crucial issue. So Denise's goal is to work with you and other partners in the community to see how the library can assist you folks and AARP in getting people's tax returns filed quickly and accurately, and
yeah, for sure,
at no expense.
Yeah, it goes back into the question about access, right? We're going to the same situation when students didn't have internet access or computers. Now we're expecting individuals to scan. I mean, how many people do have a scanner and a printer at home? Hence why public libraries exist for these type of services if they don't have them at home. So this is kind of like not of a virtual reality of what is the need within a community, of low income community, especially those under the 200% poverty guideline, which types of machinery and stuff like this is not available within a household. So yeah, I'm happy to brainstorm and figure out what we can do. And I'll work with you and your team to see what we can do and what other partners maybe
right in the community. One thing that Tim told me, Daniel, that was very interesting, because I said the same thing. I said, how many folks actually have a computer, a printer, and scan capacity and internet access and to scan? And Tim indicated that they are accepting photographs of documents and can work from there. So that's maybe a little less challenging. Yeah, but yeah, we talked about, Daniel, if there were patrons who you could verify needed assistance, we could possibly create a curbside scenario where a patron could pull up, leave their tax documents. We could scan them and then send them off to AARP, and then they could reconnect with AARP to continue the process. But we're ready to work with all of you folks to try to deal with this issue, which is really a big issue. We're getting a lot of calls about it.
For sure.
So that's really, I think that's it as far as my report, except that I just wanted to talk a little bit about the foundation and all the great things that they're currently doing. That, of course, we added 5 great new foundation board members, but on an ongoing basis, their Cocktails and Conversation series has been very successful. The last one, which I believe was last Thursday, which I attended, and I believe nearly 80 people did attend, had 2 lawyers who were involved in the Chicago 7 transcript, the book in which the movie on Netflix was based. It was really tremendous, and Amy Bass was a terrific moderator. They have another one coming up. And of course, it's free. If you want to participate, the donation is welcome. They have another Cocktails and Conversation coming up that they haven't really fully publicized. It's March 18th. And it's really having to do with sort of a self-care focus. They have two authors, Sarah DeVello and Catherine Perlman, who will talk about their books and how we can find a way to kind of provide comfort to ourselves during this very stressful time. And the Scavaganza, which is supposed to happen in June. There are some conversations still up in the air about possibly moving it to a later date. But it's all, the foundation is working hard and on our behalf in the community. And that's it. I'm done as far as my director's report.
And any operational status, anything you want to update us on, or?
Just that, we are busy. We are answering questions via phone, via email, curbside programs, keeping up with the e-content. We have some great services, both Libby, we have e-magazines, we have some great streaming services. But we're, as Francis referenced earlier, we had a directors meeting today, and libraries are starting to think about, what's the criteria that we can use if we reopen. And of course, the best thing would be if our staff could be considered 1B and be vaccinated. We're working on that. The state, the county is accepting our requests. So that would be one thing, but we're also looking at declining numbers in relation to new infections. White Plains is saying that they'd like to see 4 weeks of declining numbers, and with a 7-day average in Westchester of under 50 cases. Larchmont sort of came up with a similar scenario. They are going to look at a 7-day rolling average of no more than 50 new cases in Westchester for essentially a 10-day period. And if that were to happen, they would consider reopening on a very limited basis. And, we also are trying to be mindful of being safe for our staff and our public, but also if numbers do go down in that sort of way, we think we need to consider, reopening in that limited status that we were prior to our closing in December. So that's sort of our operational status as of the moment.
Any personnel report?
Yeah, briefly. After a lot of struggling, we're on the cusp of approving the upgrades to our outreach person and our social media person. We're almost there. It's taken a while. It's a little frustrating. We're also hopefully beginning the process of interviewing for the position, the vacant position that was essentially vacated by Barbara Davis at the end of December. And we have our committee met on Monday. We chose some candidates to interview. We're hopefully maybe doing it next week. I started calling today, and some of our candidates are no longer available. I left some messages with the others. So I'm actually waiting to see where we stand. I'm hoping that we have enough candidates to have a legitimate interview process. It's possible, given what's all that's gone on, we may have to re-advertise, but at this point, I'm hoping we can go forward. And that's my personnel report.
Thank you. We're going to move to committee reports of the board. The first one is the budget committee. I don't know if I'm chair, but I can report back. Are you chair, Whitney, of budget?
I'm not chair of budget, no. I
Chuck?
better not be, I'm brand new to it, so.
I'm gonna report out. So the budget committee met, and as everybody knows, this is a committee that looks at the budget for the upcoming year. We made some suggestions. Just overall, we do not have a lot of excess cash or excess money. It's going to be a tight budget this year. But we will probably have more details. We asked the wonderful staff team we have to go back and look at some of the changes that we suggested and come back to us. You should know that it doesn't look like the staff that has made some requests will get all of their requests at all. We just won't be able to afford it. So we've had to kind of really kind of narrow down a couple of different requests that we thought might make the most out of the little money that we have. So we'll probably come back to you with more specifics next month. So do Chuck or Whitney, do you need to add anything? Okay. So buildings and grounds, CROC committee, what you got? Sarah?
Hi, so at our last meeting, we discussed potentially using a project manager. So Tom came up with a couple of recommendations. He's reached out to them. We actually just got more information from one of them this afternoon. And we're waiting on more information from another one that's coming maybe tomorrow or early next week. We also heard back from APS, who did the building audit, about more of a summary report from them, and perhaps working further with them. So we just need to get a timeline from them on when that would be available. And the Buildings and Grounds Committee is going to have to meet again after reviewing these proposals. It did come up that previously, when all of the work was done, that we did have a project manager. So it seems like that would be the next step. So it's great that that was mentioned.
And do you guys have a price for the project? Not a price. Do you have a ballpark figure that you're going to want us to put in the budget?
For the project manager, I think we have to wait until that other proposal comes in.
Okay, so we're meeting, but the sooner you can get a number, not the sooner, but just know that if you're just, now would be the time to get a number to us if we're going to have money for a project manager.
Okay, and another thing that came in was a proposal from, I don't think it was, I don't know why I'm thinking OLA, Tom, but that may have been someone that we had contacted in addition to Jean.
Sarah, it was, I believe you're referring to the proposal from Jean Eng.
Jean Eng, so he's not affiliated then with OLA, is OLA?
He is an engineer, a consultant that was recommended to us by the head engineer from the architectural firm we previously used, WASA, Harry Spring, who is a longtime New Rochelle fellow. And when we were looking at our air handler project in the theater not so many years ago, Mr. Spring thought that Mr. Eng would be a good person to manage it. And in fact, he really did a fine job. You know, he fought to come up with a solution that was economical, successful, and he's fully aware of all the air handlers. And he's indicated that if we were to go forward with that part of the project, he would be happy to function as the project manager, you know, from beginning to end. Just for that area. I don't know about anything else, but we do know he's interested in that possibility if the board were to move in that direction.
Right, so we have a proposal from him for the replacement of the air handlers. And he has experience with the building. Tom has worked with him before, and he did a fine job, as he said. So if you want, you asking about numbers made me think about this, because he said that he estimated $1 million for the air handlers. So that's, it's interesting because it's far off from one of the numbers that was thrown out at the beginning of this process was $200,000 to $300,000. So that's a huge discrepancy.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting to see.
Now, and that's the one thing that you guys thought needed to be done. I mean, it's okay, the way my tone is, but I feel like last month, that was the one thing you said, that's one that probably we need to do. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
actually. You know, we have 7 air handlers. 2 were replaced during the theater renovation project a few years ago, managed by Mr. Eng. We have 5 more. And what we thought was interesting was his approach was not to replace all 5. He said that there are 2 that could be sort of rehabbed. One in the basement is absolutely needs to be replaced. It's in dreadful shape. But his approach was to try to be creative in terms of how to do this and not just throw money at it, which sounded good to me.
Okay, okay. So at some point, when we have some numbers, I would say budget and then finance need to come together and try to think through how do we pay for some of this. That's down the road, but I'd like it to be not too far down the road, maybe a couple months down the road. So maybe not at the next meeting if you don't have numbers, but the one after that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
just to
Yep.
maybe more with my finance committee hat on, like, if the cost was actually $1 million, we would, to pay for something like that, we would have to go
Yep.
out to bond, and there's not, I mean, we're at February. There's not a lot of daylight planning time between now and the budget vote, frankly. So we would have to move really, really fast. And Tom can attest that when you do the bonding stuff, you have to go out to the kind of the advisor that we use to issue debt, and you have to get pricing on the debt, and you know, it's a process.
Needs to be approved by the Board of Education. We need to come up with a plan, a publicity plan to inform our residents why we're asking for X amount of dollars, which is what we did in 2011 when we did our last bond. It's a big deal, and Chuck is right. I think he used there's a window, a small window, and it's closing, and it may not be viable for this year. We may need just to continue to sort of nurture that system along until we decide what we're going to do, and then really come up with an information plan to let our residents understand why we're coming to them.
That sounds good. I just want all these numbers on the table so we kind of have the sense of urgency we should have, actually. Thanks, Chuck, for adding that. Anything else, Sarah? Thank you. Community relations, Mr. Bonnet, the screen off. So he might, oh, there he goes.
All right, community relations. Yes, there's not much, but what I do want to share is that the city of New Rochelle is doing the 1-year anniversary celebration, if you will, of when the city of New Rochelle responded to COVID. I say that because they are doing a, let me pull it up. They're doing a event, the city's doing an event called COVID-19 Reflections, and they're doing a call for photos. You can go online to the website, to the City of New Rochelle website. Any photos that you may have during last year's pandemic, if you will. We're still in it, but at the height of the pandemic. To recognize the impact of this past year, the City of New Rochelle invites New Rochelle residents, businesses, schools, faith, and not-for-profits to send in photos that capture the spirit of last year for themselves and or their loved ones. Hashtag New Road Strong. So curious to see what this project looks like, of what that would reflect across the board. So I would encourage people to do it, and that's it for community relations.
Thank you. Finance? Chuck, Corey, anybody? Nothing?
I mean, I don't think we had anything to report, but I missed the February 4th email, obviously. So I,
You're good.
I'm behind on just getting together with the committee members. So that's on me.
That's okay.
I don't think we have anything.
Chuck's like, but we don't have anything, so we're good.
You didn't miss anything. We're good.
All right.
Policy?
We don't have any new policy
Okay.
element report.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Special projects?
We have a lot to talk about for special projects. So Corey joined me, and Deirdre too. You're both on the committee with me. I'm going to talk about 2 special projects. The first I'll discuss because And Tom, chime in. I'm going to talk about Memorial Highway, the courtyard project first. We, I think, are ready to move forward with getting kind of the phase 1 exploration with Doug Emilio underway. I believe the cost was $8,600, $8,500. And I believe tonight we would like to request a vote on this. Tom, do you want to chime in?
Whitney, $8,500 for phase 1, correct?
8,500, right? So just to refresh everybody's memory, this is in relation to the, was it a $200,000, Tom, or $180,000?
It was a total, Whitney, of $200,000, 2 significant grants as captured by the foundation in tandem with Senator Stuart Cousins and Representative Paulin, and a much smaller grant from a local family foundation. Totals $200,000.
Correct. Okay, so to kind of marry some of the things we're talking about together, the initial effort was had a focus of beautification. It has a lot of potential. This is the entrance on Memorial Highway, but it is not accessible. It is not ADA compliant, and this also aligns with the report that we received from the building audit. So we feel really good and comfortable with proceeding with this grant, which we received. So we are excited to focus on making those ADA accessibility improvements to the space. I think that's an important thing to do now, and I think it's an important thing to do regardless of what we're doing or what's happening with the rest of the building. And that, in addition to lighting, which is a safety issue, are 2 areas that we would like to really tackle with this grant money. So what Doug Emilio will do for us is for the $8,500, he will propose 3 designs. I believe they will be either phased or in kind of various degrees of complexity. He understands what our budget is, and we'll keep that in mind as he's developing these designs. The board will review, and we can share everything online, and we'll proceed from there. So what we're asking for tonight is to receive approval from the board to proceed with this phase, this exploratory kind of phase. In addition to the designs, he will also help us price out what the rest of the project will look like.
So you're asking for $8,500
Yes.
new. This has other, okay. So so my only thought here is, and then I'd love for my colleagues to chime in, is I'm not sure where we're gonna get that from, though I'm having a feeling that Jean and Tom have already thought that through,
Yes.
because that's how good they are.
They are so good. So Tom, you
They're
wanted
so
to.
So Tom, why don't you,
Yeah.
before my colleagues say, what? Why don't you give us some?
Sure.
Enlighten us.
Words. But in fact, Jean and I have been, really Jean has been examining with a, in a very focused laser sort way, our status with our budget as we complete the first half of the fiscal year. And indeed, because of our encounters with COVID, we have achieved some savings. And those savings would certainly allow us to underwrite a phase 1 from operational monies. No need to tap into fund balance funds for this $8,500.
Okay.
So we do indeed have that money.
What do you know? I don't have any questions.
Great.
But my colleagues might.
That's
You
right.
guys feel free. That was my question, and it was handled quickly and efficiently.
We've been waiting on this and doing a lot of back end kind of questioning and exploration to make sure that we can even ask, right? We wouldn't be asking if it wasn't possible. Is kind of how I think we've approached it, is can we do this? We also have we're working the way similarly to the way that the Kroc committee has outside expertise. We are working hand in hand with the Library Foundation. So we meet, Corey and I meet together with folks from the Library Foundation, including Chris Sellen, who's on as an attendee. Hi, Chris. And so it's been, a pleasure working together, and we have partners in this, which has been, made the whole thing feel much more doable.
Does anybody have any questions? You want to make a motion?
Sure, I would like to make a motion to vote on approving the kind of launch of a phase 1 design process with Doug Emilio for $8,500. Can I get, yep, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. So the motion passes and we will proceed. Congratulations to us and to our future accessible courtyard.
Thank you. Thank you, board.
Thanks.
Corey.
The second kind of important and exciting development is related to our long-standing community needs assessment, but something really critical that we are obligated to do as a library. In fact, Tom just sent over, I did not get a chance to read it before this meeting, but we are kind of required by the New York State, the New York State Library Laws and Regulations to create a long-range plan. We need to do this regularly, and we did one last in 2011, our strategic plan. So it is now over 10 years old. And what we would like to do, we had already begun the process of working with public works partners, enlisting them to help us with our community needs assessment. And I spoke with them to ask whether they too carry out strategic planning processes, and they do. So we had budgeted an amount to conduct the community needs assessment, which would become an important part of a strategic planning process. So it's a very elegant way to marry a bunch of components of big picture elements that we're all grappling with right now, including really wanting to do right by our constituents and listen and understand what the community wants, try and figure out how we can serve the people who use the library every day even better, and how we can get people who don't use our library for whatever reason to begin to use it and see it as the community treasure that it really is. And in tandem with that is really wanting to respond to the great work of our Kroc committee and the building audit needs, and see everything holistically, and not run out here for a bond to do this and then run out for another bond to do that the next year. And it's tiring, it's inefficient, and I don't think that it serves the community the way that we need to serve the community. So what I've done is asked, and this is in conversation with Tom and Deirdre and Corey, who are on our committee, is asked the Public Works Partners folks to revamp their proposal to us. They will submit something by Friday, February 19th. There's a huge range in pricing for strategic planning processes. The last one in 2011 cost $26,000. We had allocated $10,000 for the community needs assessment portion alone. So we are going to have to put some money into this, but it's a requirement. So I don't think we should vote now on what we can spend, or unless, I think we just need to discuss it either in the budget committee or in the special projects committee, see what we can come up with. And just remember that this is something that is something we have to do, but it'll greatly, I think, assist us and serve as a guiding, document. And, we'll have board input and community input and input from data that, Tom and his team collect all the time on usage, and input from the building needs. So we're not, I don't think, ready to vote on anything yet, but just stay tuned for more conversations. And I think probably at the March meeting, we will need to vote on this.
Sounds good. Thank you,
Anyone?
Whitney.
Okay.
Cory,
Thank you all.
Tom and Jean. Who's next? Oh, that's it. I don't think we have any public discussion because, oh, we do. Caller and user, I don't know if that person wants
So
to.
that's Marjorie, I believe. I
Okay.
think it's Marjorie. She got bumped out, and then I was helping her. That was why I might have seemed distracted as I was sending her the invitation.
I sent her all this stuff too. So
Yeah,
but that
looks
might
like
be
she
her.
was able to. I'm guessing that's Marjorie because she
Is
was
that
trying.
Marjorie?
I believe it is Marjorie.
I let her talk. So Marjorie, if that's you.
She has to unmute herself. I'm gonna ask to unmute.
I just did too.
Okay. Can she chat to us?
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me?
can hear you. Yay.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. I did. Somehow I got booted out, and then there was an error code, so the password and the ID thing didn't work for me. So I called in. So, so I'm not sure what happened, but you know, I didn't get to hear a lot of the meeting, but this sounds very exciting to marry the needs assessment with the strategic plan. And I'm just curious, when the last strategic plan was done, how involved was the community, and was there a committee, and were there people from the community on the committee? I don't know if you feel like you can answer that.
I actually have a bunch of that information. Tom, if you want to answer it, you were here. I was not.
I was, right. And good question, Marjorie. Actually, the last long-range plan, I've been looking, it started in 2015 and it just ended. And the intent of the effort was to fully involve the community, both as people, you know, as sort of the steering committee, as well as participants. So the committee was actually comprised of library board members. Chris Sellen was sort of the strategic co-chair, along with then board member Emery. Oh God, Emery's last name.
Schweig, Emery Schweig.
Yeah, and Emery
Yes.
Schweig.
I forgot too, but as soon as she said,
blanked
I got it.
name, wonderful board member in person. And there were other people in the community involved. And certainly the effort was to have focus groups that connected with the community in terms of, you know, groups like parents of young children, seniors, Spanish speakers. And we tried to focus in on areas too. And we had a town hall meeting as well. So we did a survey also. So the goal was to be as broadly inclusive as we possibly could in terms of garnering information and providing participation from the community.
Okay, great, thank you. Oh, and can I make one just little suggestion? I love the newsletters that we get, you know, the emails that we get about the library. And it just, I would love it if you could put a notice about the board meetings on those emails. Is that a possibility?
Sure, that's a good idea. We can talk to Nikki Fudge and ask her to include that. That's easy. Yep.
Okay. I just think, you know, there might be people who see it and then would attend, and you know, I'm always trying to get more people involved, so can't hurt. And thank you all for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Just to add, Chris Sellen just put something in terms of the, hold on, in terms of the strategic plan. There was outreach throughout the library to the community, including a survey. It was for 2015 to 2020. That's basically what Tom said. Okay, just wanted to add.
And this
it.
is all, that's all what we would have been doing for the community needs assessment
Yep.
anyway. So this is great, and we can make it even more robust because it'll be serving kind of this larger purpose. And yeah, I don't know why it says 2011. I'm not sure why I thought it was 2011. Did you tell me that, Tom?
I did, and I
Okay.
have to go back. And I think I'm to blame, Emery, for that misinformation. But it was for a period of 2015 to 20.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything. Does anybody else?
I have one more thing.
I know, I thought I heard a breath in. I was like, oh, I hear
No,
something.
I think, and this goes back to an email I got from Tom and some exchanges, Deirdre, we've had, and it's certainly
Yes.
relevant with Chris on the line. Tom has been working with the staff to prepare the grant request or the funding request for the foundation. If this group has any ideas or thoughts that they want to express from a big picture perspective, in terms of that, please reach out to myself or Beth, who are kind of on point to look at that with Tom. And Tom, I would ask if you could circulate that draft request to this group so they could see what you're thinking now as they think about big picture ideas. That would be great.
Chuck, sure, I will send that out tonight or tomorrow.
Thank
So,
you.
You're welcome.
Relatedly, but I don't think it's in this time frame, but we will likely be asking for foundation support for the Memorial Highway Courtyard project, but that we'll understand the magnitude, or how big or small, and timing based on what Doug Emilio produces. So it'll come out of his report, because we'll better understand pricing on everything.
And I would just chime in. I just love to chime in one thing on that. I do think we really need to look at and be thinking about the Memorial Highway project in conjunction with the overall plan for the building and the needs assessment. I don't think we want to be assessing that in a vacuum. And so just a thought.
I agree. I mean, I think, but if we should talk about it, we should talk about it. I think that because it's an accessibility issue, it's something, I'm with you. I know what you mean.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's like the money is coming.
The building's accessible. It's not accessible from that side, which is not ideal.
Right.
So I just think, I want to be judicious, and it has to be a dialogue with the foundation, I think. And we have to be, upfront with them that we have a lot of other things we're going to be doing and a lot of important decisions to make as we make that investment. That's my personal opinion.
No, I think I agree with you. I think we've had those conversations and agreed that I think the money doesn't go anywhere right away. Is that right, Tom? Like we have a while to spend it.
We do, quite a while. Whitney.
Yeah. So there's probably float time where we can understand, what our plan is. I don't, it was just one of these things where it's like, well, if we have this money and we're gonna, we have to use the money in concert with how we said we would use the money. So it's not like we can decide suddenly, instead we're going to use it for the air handlers, right?
No, I understand.
Right, we can't do that. And I don't know how long of a float period we have, but we should maximize it so that we can get, that I totally 100% agree with you, that we want to have a big picture vision for what we're doing before we piecemeal anything. And I think that's what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I would just say that this can be a lesson in terms of how we kind of move forward. That we have the opportunity to get funding for stuff, but sometimes it doesn't make sense in the larger picture. And we're now starting to have these conversations and putting dollar figures around it. They're saying, wow, that's a lot. Wow. And so I think now it's becoming more obvious that, wow, we're spending 8,000 here. Should we spend it here? So part of it is that we haven't had the conversation with these with the numbers that we're talking about, which are making it a little more urgent. So just a lesson in how we plan going forward. the building needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so as we start to think about fixing this, or we start to think about different projects, we always have to have in the back of our head, does this make sense? Because, what are we taking away from? Even bandwidth, what energy are we taking away from by spending time on this, as opposed to spending time on that, like, where are we going to come up with that $1 million? So it's just something to think about. There's no easy answer to some of this stuff, and timing is timing, but just, we have some real serious issues that we've got to confront. And so it's going to mean some choices.
I think it'll be really helpful in that regard to have a guiding document to help us when we wonder, is this in line with our vision? We just turn to this, this roadmap that we're looking to generate. I think that'll make things a lot easier. We won't have to reinvent the wheel every time something comes up.
Tom, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just thank you, Deirdre. I just want to just take a step back and indicate that the foundation did raise a considerable sum of money, monies that will be furnished to us to do this project. And one of the goals in working with Doug Emilio and APS, quite frankly, is for him in this first phase to come up with 3 concepts. And these 3 concepts have to fulfill the ideas that we know are crucial: accessibility, safety, vis-a-vis lighting. And the other element is he needs to design on a budget, and that budget needs to be essentially the monies that are part of the grants that we've achieved. And my hope is that we can go forward with this project and come up with a viable solution that stays within the monies that we're going to gain access to.
So the only thing is, it's awkward, and I hate to be in the position where the foundation has money for us, and we're sitting here saying, is this the right thing? Because we have all these other needs. So I don't want to get in that situation with the foundation, because God knows we are very appreciative of them. So it's just incumbent upon us to make sure that when they are out fundraising for us, that we understand what it's for and that we're ahead of it. So we make sure it fits into the larger plan. That's all. Because Chris is on this call and we love what you do and we're very appreciative. And I'm feeling bad because I'm saying, but wait a minute, we have all these other needs, but this is just kind of the reality we're with. So
And I think I'm just going to say, we've been talking about this for a long time,
For
and
years.
this very issue. And we're at the point where it's like the money has been secured. We have it now. There are accessibility issues and safety issues on that side of the building. Whether or not, I think it's something that would not be wasteful or imprudent to spend time on while we figure out the bigger picture with the building where we don't have the money, right? And I just feel like, why wait on this kind of urgent issue? To me, it seems urgent. That's all I'll say. But I also agree that it should not be a piece. Sorry, it should not. It should not be we shouldn't do it piecemeal. That's all. I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we're good. Does anybody else have anything else to add? Alrighty. Thank you all so much. I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a great
you.
night,
Thank
guys.
you so much, everybody.
Everybody have a
Bye.
good
Bye-bye.
week. Nice weekend.
You too. Thanks, Tom.